Welcome back to another video for IB Environmental Systems and Societies. Today we're going to focus on the second part of topic 7.1, energy choices and security, energy security. The big idea here is that energy security is really complex. At times it's quite controversial, and each country is going to make different decisions based on their own unique circumstances. In my previous video, I presented these 8 countries as mini case studies for you to look at. I suggest that you go through this setup that I'd showed you previously and suggested that you fill in and have a look at these 8 countries in particular. Saudi Arabia, as you might guess, one of the world's largest petroleum producers, that availability and depth of involvement is going to affect the choices that Saudi Arabia makes. China, massive coal producer and consumer. Ethiopia and Egypt, both of these countries rely on the Nile River for a lot of different things. Here's where a lot of topics in ESS begin to become intertwined. In topic 4 about access to fresh water, we examined Ethiopia and Egypt as a case study of places where there's potential conflict over access to fresh water. Well, the Nile River is also a major source of electricity for both of these countries, Egypt in particular. Ethiopia has been building a new dam on the Nile, and that has implications not only for the water available for Egypt to produce their own electricity, but also for access to fresh water, as well as terrestrial food production in both countries. So here we have topic 7, topic 4, and topic 5 in the ESS syllabus all intertwined. Iceland is probably the best example of geothermal energy on the planet due to their unique situation on the mid-Atlantic ridge and access to undersea volcanoes. Norway has traditionally been a petroleum powerhouse, but has made a societal decision to try to move away from their petroleum reserves in the North Sea. Costa Rica is developing a reputation as one of the most energy sustainable societies on Earth. There is a case study in a recent ESS exam asking students to evaluate their move towards sustainability. It's not been perfect, but this is a really good case study to dig into more deeply and find out about their energy supplies. I currently live in Cambodia. Cambodia has a lot of potential energy sources, produces a fair amount of hydropower, but also imports a significant amount of electricity from other places. So there are some societal factors that impact Cambodia's energy choices as well. The advantages and disadvantages of different energy sources here on the left play a significant role in a given society's energy security. In particular, the reserves, how transportable those reserves are, and where the energy sources are found. So when you have a look at this matrix that hopefully you set up after the last video, use this to input into your evaluation of a given society's energy security. In my previous video, I shared this infographic showing the equity, sustainability, and security of energy choices for different countries around the world. I suggest that you click on the link, which is available in the comments below, to look at the security information for those 8 countries above. Energy security depends on having enough reliable and affordable energy so that a country can be independent of what happens elsewhere in the world. That's a big part of energy security. Just like food security for a country is that country's ability to grow enough food annually to feed its own population, the same premise applies to security. Is a country or a society able to produce enough electricity to meet the needs of its population without relying on energy brought in from another country or another society? So on this map, the dark red colors are the most energy secure countries on Earth. You've got Australia, New Zealand, the United States, and Canada are the most obvious ones, but you also see plenty of energy independence in Europe with Norway, Sweden, and France being the darkest red there. The darkest brown are the opposite end of that spectrum. These are the most energy insecure countries on Earth. And you'll notice that those are concentrated primarily in Eastern and Southern Africa. Those have significant geopolitical implications as well, because as these countries wish to move into a more energy secure state, they will seek assistance from places that may have greater energy independence. And those countries can then use that as leverage, political leverage, over these countries. It's basically negotiating from a position of weakness. Energy choices adopted by a society or a country, of course, are influenced by how available they are, how sustainable they are, what type of scientific and technological developments are happening, cultural attitudes, right? And those attitudes change. So do the political and economic factors that feed into these choices. When I was growing up in the 1970s in North America, there was a massive fuel shortage for many years, the oil embargo from OPEC, and that influenced the price of fuel to a way that it actually changed the driving habits and the purchasing habits of many Americans over the types of cars that they drove. It ushered in an era of much smaller and more fuel efficient vehicles in the United States. That era endured for a while, but has regressed somewhat as the energy embargo recedes further and further into the past. One of the ways that a society can make itself more energy secure is by improving the efficiency of its energy use and consumption. One of the ways that they can do that is by improving their energy efficiency. It means they're still producing the same amount of energy, but they are using it more effectively to achieve the same goals or accomplish the same ends. Another way to achieve greater energy security is to improve conservation. In other words, to use less energy. Frequently, better efficiency contributes to energy conservation. It's also about changing behaviors, such as turning off lights or air conditioners when you're not in a particular room or in a particular home. It's about using less energy to heat a home during winter in cold climates, or keeping your air conditioner set at a higher temperature in warm climates so that there's not as big of a difference between the internal and external temperatures of a structure. As you've seen in the first part of this video, the energy security of a particular society or country is not just a local or national issue. It is a genuinely global consideration with a lot of geopolitical implications and economic connections to other societies. What that means is that all nations must get on board if we are to make any real progress on a rapidly changing climate, because climate is also a global issue. A few years ago, I found this visualization from Antti Lipponen that I think does a really nice job of showing the change in temperature over the last 150 years. So as you can see, the cooler colors in the middle reflect average temperatures in different places around the world. And as we become closer and closer to the current day, those colors become warmer and warmer, representing higher and higher average temperatures until we get into the late 20 teens and we see dark reds, which indicate a much higher deviation from the average or global mean temperatures. Okay, we're back to discussing the factors that affect the choice of energy sources. In the first video, we talked about the advantages and disadvantages of the sources. Really, what you should be doing here for energy security is considering those geopolitical connections and how the energy production and consumption habits within a particular country are connected to things happening in other nations. You want to discuss the pros and cons of different factors that affect a country's energy security. So what you should be doing is pause this video, identify a particular country. I suggest using one of the 8 that I put together at the start of the video. State whether that country's energy security has increased or decreased, and then describe how that factor has affected its energy security. And the factors you should be looking at are the supply and demand of that energy source, the total reserves of those energy sources, geopolitical developments, the overarching theme of climate change. You should also consider natural disasters because those can influence a country's energy choices and energy security, as we saw with the Fukushima nuclear incident resulting from the 2011 tsunami in Japan. Again, come back to these same factors and weigh the pros and cons of each of them for a named country. So choose one country, go through these different factors, list the pros and the cons of each, and for each one of those, identify whether the pros outweigh the cons or vice versa, and then come to an overall conclusion at the end. That's what it means to evaluate the energy strategy of a given society. There's all kinds of international mindedness links to this topic. It's predominantly an international topic, maybe more so than some of the other ones that we've looked at in ESS. That's it for the second video of topic 7.1, energy choices and security. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. Consider subscribing to my channel. If you'd like other IB ESS resources, please head over to my website, www.mrcreamerscience.com. Thanks for watching and happy learning.